Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do something kind of a little bit different. I wanted to go through some of the curriculum we're using, show it to you on a video kind of format, and show you how we use it. I think it's a little bit easier to see in video when you can kind of flip through books than if you're trying to do it just with pictures on a blog post. So today we're going to be talking about Matthew C. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about this curriculum, stick around and we will be right back. Alright, so when you go into the Matthew C website, there's a lot of options for you. And this year, as most of you know, we have 4 children. And so we're using 4 different levels of the Matthew C program. They also have these block manipulatives, and then they also have this skip counting and addition facts songbook. So I'm going to just go through what I think you need to purchase when you're starting out with this program, and what we use and how we use it. Alright, so the first thing that you're going to need is a set of blocks if you don't already have one. I found my first set of blocks at a used curriculum fair, but you can also buy them online, and I have seen them on places like eBay and the homeschoolclassifieds.com website. But you will need the blocks. They use these manipulatives quite a bit, all the way up until they start hitting fractions and decimal points and that kind of thing. So you will be using these, and it's an important concept for your child to learn when they're starting out with the Matthew C program. And how the blocks work, it's quite simple, but when you're doing beginning addition, is that you would take a block, say 5 plus 3, and this is a 5 block and a 3 block, and one of the first things that your students learn is what number each color block is. So they're not sitting there every time going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They know that a 5 block is blue, and that's just through practice through the first few lessons of the Matthew C program. So they do 5 plus 3, and they put them together like that because they're adding them, and then your child can sit there and go, okay, let's see, is it 7? No, they're not quite equal. All right, I need one more. Let's try the 8 block. And then they can see with their eyeballs, it's Matthew C, that 5 plus 3 does indeed equal 8. And one of the things that the Matthew C program does is it actually encourages them to also find other things that are equal to 8. And as they learn to build those, they can kind of visually see and remember the colors in their mind, but it helps them remember that 6 plus 2 is 8, 5 plus 3 is 8, 4 plus 4 is 8, and so on. So anyways, that is a basic overview of how the blocks work. If you're they also do, I am missing in this picture, but it will come with your set, the hundreds blocks. They're very large square red 100 blocks, and I just don't have them in this kit. They're in my other kit. But when you buy the set of blocks, they will come with them, and I purchased one set of blocks, and then I also found like an expansion set. So this is like a set and a half or something like that of blocks. If you have one student, you really only probably need one set of blocks. And we share these. I do not have a set of blocks per student. That would be insanely expensive, and I would have more blocks than I know what to do with. One other thing I wanted to show you is Matthew C was kind enough to send me this awesome wooden block box, and I really like it because it has this little workspace for them. But before I had that, I used something that looked like this. And this is just a movable divider bead box that I found at my local craft store. And I have a couple different versions of this. But these little dividers, as you can see, pop in and out. And so it makes it really handy. You can change the size of the hole that you need so that they fit your blocks. That worked really well, and I get a lot of questions on this, and really honestly it's just a simple bead box. So easy peasy, and it was quite inexpensive as well. One other thing I wanted to show you as far as the blocks go is their iPad app, and we actually do use this all the time. We don't always do school here. Sometimes we'll head to the library or something like that, and sometimes we just feel like using this instead of the blocks. But this is an iPad app, and it works just the same way the blocks do. You can kind of grab the blocks, move them around, you can pull blocks up, you can add, you can subtract, all of that kind of stuff on here. And so it makes it really easy and kind of convenient. Here is our other box, and this includes all of the 100 blocks with it. So those are their block manipulatives, and I highly suggest that you get those if you're going to do the Matthew C program. You kind of need them. I believe they retail for around $22 on their website, and it doesn't come with the box when you buy it. It just comes with the blocks. So you'll either need to get the clear case like I mentioned, or spring for one of their wooden boxes. The next thing I wanted to mention really fast is the songbook and addition facts, and I got this at a used curriculum fair. I don't remember how much it was. It was pretty inexpensive. I believe it's close to $11 new on their website, and I didn't think I would use it, but we actually do use it quite a bit. So it comes with this DVD, song DVD. Sorry about that. And then on the inside, it's got the words to the songs, and it's just skip counting songs. And so they're actually really cute. They have a Christian version, and then on our DVD there's also a non-Christian version. It just goes to kind of more like tunes like Mary Had a Little Lamb and that kind of thing. So it's talking about all the different adding, doubles, making tens, all the skip counting and all that kind of stuff. So this is probably not a necessity, but I will tell you that my kids really liked it, and we did use it quite a bit. And even to this day, when I'm skip counting by a couple different numbers, I sing the song in my head. So I don't know if you want to go that route, but it worked for us and we enjoyed it. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about a little bit are the actual curriculum packets themselves. So when you go on the Matthew C website, you'll see an instructional pack choice, you'll see a student pack choice, and then any manipulatives that might need to go with that level. This is the Zeta level, and this level is mostly working on decimal points, and so they actually have a separate kit for this one. And the kit is, I believe, $22 for that kit. The teacher's manual is $43, I think, and then the student pack is somewhere around $30. So what you get when you purchase those is, in the teacher kit, you'll get the actual teacher's manual, and you'll get the instructional DVD. And yes, we use both of these, especially for the upper grades. I use these mainly because as you can see, I have little tabs in here. They include all of the answers and how they arrived at those answers and that kind of thing. And as you start getting in the upper grades, it's very helpful, especially for grading worksheets. It's a lot faster to go down and just grade looking at the answer key than having to kind of sit there and re-figure out the whole thing on your own. The other thing that you will need is the student workbook, and it comes with the student workbooks and tests. It comes together. The student workbook pages look like this, and each section, see if I can find one we haven't done yet. Each section comes with worksheets from A to F. And so they're lesson practice worksheets, and they're going to go with whatever DVD you watched for lesson number 20. And they have worksheets. We use, since we only do 5 days of school, we use worksheets A, B, C, and then D. And I like to make sure to include worksheet D because it always has a review from something that they've learned in a previous section or a previous level. And so, you know, you want to keep reviewing some of the things that you've done in previous levels so you're not forgetting. And then they have 2 additional worksheets, E and F, if you want to use those for extra practice. You can also download extra practice worksheets off their website, which is really nice. And then in the newer versions, and I think this started this year, but I could be wrong, 2014 I think is when it started, is they added a worksheet G, and that's an application and enrichment worksheet. And these are really, really nice because one of the things I was noticing with Matthew C is even though every single lesson has word problems in them, my children were still having a hard time deciding which function to use based on the word problem. If they were to be given a math problem such as this, they could work it no problem. They knew the math, they knew how to do it, but they were having a hard time knowing when to apply which function. And so this section kind of takes care of a lot of that. It has different circumstances, and your child has to then figure out which kind of function they're going to be using for each of those circumstances. So that's really helpful. And the answer key again for that is also included in your teacher's manual as long as you have an up-to-date teacher's manual. And then also, like I said, they have a test booklet, and each test will correspond with the unit that you're on that week. So as you can see, we are currently on unit 18 or lesson 18. So how we use this in our homeschool is on Mondays, all of my kids will do the initial video. So they will get their video out and they put it in the computer or our TV that plays videos or the computer in here, and they will watch the lesson for that particular week. Once they're done watching the lesson, they come back over and they have their worksheet. And if they need any help or any instructions or whatever, then I will help them with their worksheet for that day. So on that day we would be on worksheet A. So they would do their first worksheet. Normally this is the day that they need the most help from me because it's the first time they've done this particular skill, and so I'm usually having to help them out a little bit more or clarify anything from the videos. Sometimes I feel like they don't pay as good of attention to the videos as they need to, and so it just takes someone in person kind of reiterating how to work these problems. The next day they do not watch a video again. They'll just pull out worksheet B, and again I'll usually help them somewhat if they have any questions. the next day they'll pull out worksheet C, and again, if they have any questions, they're always welcome to help me, but usually by the time they hit worksheet C, they've got the concept down fairly well, and they're able to do quite a bit of it on their own. And then the last day they'll do, this would be Thursday, they'll do worksheet D, and they usually need a little bit of a help because sometimes this always has the review on it, like I mentioned, and so they need help sometimes just reviewing some of the concepts and that kind of thing. But Matthew C is really good to kind of re-explain the concept. They always have one that's done to show them how to do it, and then they have a couple that they have to do on their own. I do not use the other worksheets right now except for the G worksheet. So on Fridays, they will do Application G worksheet, which is the more story problems, like I said, application and enrichment, and they will also have their test that day. So they'll do a worksheet and they'll do their test. And then their test is what I grade and put in my homeschool tracker to keep track of their math grade. I do not grade their worksheets on a daily basis because I am helping them through it. I'm making sure that they've mastered the concepts. By the time they're done with this worksheet, it is 100% correct when they turn it in. So they'll work the worksheet on their own and then they'll turn it into me. I will grade it, and then if they have any incorrect problems, then I sit down with them and we go through that problem together and I explain to them, you know, how to work that problem, what they may have done wrong. And sometimes it's just a simple math problem, you know, that they missed. 7 times 4 is 32, you know, or something random. Their brain just kind of blinked out for a second. Sometimes they really had a hard time understanding how to actually work the problem. And so in that case, then we go back through and I discuss maybe where they made errors or whatever. So that is how we use it on a daily basis. So I do use the entire student workbook pack, and I do use the teacher's manual. The teacher's manual, I don't normally read through the lessons. However, they are in here. I usually, if I have a problem, I usually watch the video just to help me out because he explains things quite well in the video. It's usually, you know, one of my kids is not paying attention and that's why they didn't understand it from the video. But if you need extra help, and I have referred to this a few times, they do line out all of the lessons for you and explain to you what they're doing and how they're doing it and all of that kind of stuff. So this section is helpful. The section I mostly use, and you can see I have them tabbed back here, are the answer keys. And so here's your lesson practice answer keys, and it's got 17A, 17B, 17C, 17D, and it has all the answers, and it also shows the work. One of the things that I don't like about some of the other programs is that it will just have an answer key, but it doesn't show you how you got to that answer. And Matthew C is very good about that, so that if I'm not sure exactly how you're supposed to get to the answer, I can look in here and I can say, oh, okay, this is how we did it, and that helps me out and it helps out my students. All right, now Zeta is one of the levels that does come with different inserts, and these are the algebra and decimal inserts, and these are used slightly different, still a similar concept, but the bars just look different than their normal blocks. And so there are instructions on how to use these as you go through, and the video also explains how to use these, but I just wanted to make you aware that there is a different level of manipulatives that you need once you get into the Zeta level. One of the other levels that we're going through this year is Epsilon. This is fractions mainly, and my son, who is in 5th grade, is working on this level right now. And as you can see, I have the teacher's manual, the DVD, and those two things come together, and then the student workbook and the student tests, and those two things come together. I'm not going to show you how we go through that because we do it exactly the same way as the Zeta. However, I do want to show you that they have another set of manipulatives for fractions as well. And this was one of the things that kind of sold me on Matthew C to begin with when I first was homeschooling, and I had always had a hard time with fractions, and when he explained using these overlays, I thought it was just so clever, and it actually made so much sense to me that I decided that we would go with this program. And I'm really thankful that I did, because both of my kids have had like 0 problems with fractions. So these fraction inserts come with these inserts, and I know this looks like one whole, but basically this is your 1/4 of a fraction, so you can see you have 4 sections, and then based on whatever fraction they're working on at that time, they start out with a blank template, and let's say they have 1/4. They'll put in the 1/4 marker, and then they can see that they have 1 piece out of 4. So it's really, really easy. If they have 1/2 or 2/4, depending on how they stated at the beginning, you can put in the 2/4 marker, and as you see, they have 2 out of 4. So these are really, really easy. You can also cross 2 over So now you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4 sections are filled out of 8, and that is still the same as 1/2 of your block, and so on. So these are actually quite a good visual description for fractions, and they work really, really well. My kids have responded extremely well to these, and quite honestly, like I said, I always had a hard time with fractions, but these have made it so much easier for me to understand. So I absolutely love these overlays, and you will need them if you are doing the epsilon unit, or at least I highly recommend them if you are doing the epsilon unit. The last two that we're going to show just briefly is for Tinkerbell and Teeny Tot, and Teeny Tot is using the primer this year. It's basically an introduction to math. It does include beginning addition, and they do quite a bit of skip counting in here. They start out with just really basic shapes, counting, identifying numbers. They do a little bit of number writing, counting shapes, and then at the very beginning they have these tracer numbers, and so your student traces inside the lines, which I really like these. I think it helps them with their number formation instead of just giving them a piece of paper and letting them kind of have at it. So the very early years, or early days, are them learning about the blocks, the colors of the blocks, learning counting, learning their numbers, and then they move into skip counting and addition and all of that kind of stuff. So this is a little bit of what the primer book looks like. It is basic addition, and it does cover a little bit of clocks, and then it does a very brief introduction to subtraction towards the end of the unit. I do still, even though this looks kind of easy, and when you first start out you might feel like, oh, this is too easy, I do still recommend that you start out with this, because when they move on into the alpha, it goes straight into addition and subtraction, and if they don't have this kind of foundational basis, then you're probably going to have a hard time going through alpha. Math-U-See is a program that moves quite quickly, and it goes quite in depth into each level, so you don't really want to skip a level if you can at all help it. Even that said, if you're starting out in first grade and you haven't used this before, it will be okay. It's just you may have to do a little bit of instruction with the blocks before you can really get into the program, so that they kind of understand the blocks and how they work and all of that stuff. So the Teeny Tot does this the exact same way, except for that she does not have tests. So she just does a worksheet every day, and on the last day, I can grade her test and let her put a sticker on it or whatever, but I don't keep grades for kindergarten, so you're welcome to if you want to, but they don't have tests for the primer level. The gamma level is the same thing. It's single and multiple digit multiplication. And so this is what Tinkerbell is working on right now. She is in 3rd grade. And like I said, and most of you probably know, but Math-U-See is a mastery program. And so while they do review lessons and concepts taught in previous levels, they do highly focus on one level at a time. And I have tried other levels like Saxon, where you're doing a little bit of everything, and honestly, I had a hard time. I kept pulling out our Math-U-See blocks and showing them, this is what they're trying to tell you, or this is how they're trying to show you to do that, and then my kids were like, oh, okay, well, why didn't you just say that? And so we just stayed with Math-U-See, because it seemed like the easiest way to explain concepts. And the other thing that I really do like, and this is honestly personal preference, but I really do like the mastery approach, because I feel like when my kids got out of the alpha and beta levels, they knew their addition and subtraction so well that moving into multiplication was like a no-brainer for them. It was extremely easy. They were really good at skip counting already, and the multiplication unit was like easy peasy. And once they get out of this, because they focus so much in depth on multiplication, that it's just memorized. They've got all their tables memorized. They're ready to move on into the division unit and so on. My kids are doing so much better than I ever did, because I did a more traditional math when I was in school, and I just did a little bit of everything, and I never really mastered any one concept. And so it's kind of like a jack of all trades but master of none. This one will make them sort of a master of all of the different functions. Really quickly, I just wanted to show you what it looks like in their workbox drawer. So when my oldest pulls out her workbox drawer, she'll find her Math-U-See sitting in here. If it's an A worksheet or a Monday, then she'll have her video sitting on top and her worksheet. So she knows that she has a video that day. So she just takes her video and her worksheet, and she goes to the computer and does her work. And then I keep my teacher's manuals over here in a teacher manual kind of section, so these don't go in their work drawers. Just their workbooks and their text booklets go in their work drawers. And then I keep this one is the teacher's manual for my oldest, and then this is the one for Epsilon, my son. So I just keep those in there, and then it's just easy for me to grab when I go to grade things. So. Alright, Alright, so that is my look at Matthew C. When we use it on a daily basis, I do have all of the kids kind of doing everything at the same time. We have 3 computers, so I will usually start off helping the teeny tot. She doesn't always watch her videos at this stage, while the other 3 are on their computer watching their video, and then we all come back in here and everybody does their worksheets together, and that just enables me to be able to kind of stand here and help where I need it, and we kind of just all do it at the same time. So I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's how we do it. I hope you enjoyed being able to kind of see inside some of these books and see what products you need to get started. If you have any questions, you can always email me at Erica@confessionsofahomeschooler.com, or you can check my website at www.confessionsofahomeschooler.com. And I quickly wanted to say that this video is not sponsored by Matthew C. I just thought it would be fun to do a series of videos of the curriculum that we do use to show you how we use it in our homeschool and what it kind of looks like. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you for the next one.